Probably one of the most asked questions I get is about pitching. How do you work with brands? How do you find them? How much to charge them? And here's the thing, guys. Pitching has been a game changer for my business. It's allowed me to negotiate four-figure deals and continue to make five figures as a part-time influencer. I mean, it's kind of crazy how impactful pitching has been for me. It's also helped me formulate strategic relationships. For instance, podcast interviews, leading workshops, leading live stream interviews with others, doing lead magnet swaps to build my email list. I mean, I am so comfortable now just shooting my shot to people. It's kind of crazy to me as I reflect about it and where I started out on my journey. Even if you're not an influencer though, pitching can be tremendously powerful for your business. Not too long ago, I teamed up with the Workshop Downtown here in Las Vegas to teach their members all about pitching during a workshop called Pitch Like a Pro. The Workshop Downtown is an educational platform and community hub for creatives building brands and small businesses. It provides access to monthly workshops taught by local creatives, bi-monthly masterminds, personal accountability check-ins, discounts, as well on personalized strategy sessions with their founders. And I got to speak with one of their founders, Kelly Bennet. I love Kelly, by the way, during an IG Live prior to the workshop I led not too long ago on what to expect during Pitch It Like a Pro, as well as shared a few tips on how to get started with pitching. So tune into this episode and listen in on how to pitch like a pro.
How are you?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Happy Friday. We're here.
Happy Friday.
How are you doing?
Good. Busy as always, but good.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for just having the time to talk to us. We're so excited to have you teach and for you to really just skill share your wisdom of pitching like a pro. I personally have like my pen and paper ready for your class. Just to kick things off, can you, for anyone who's going to be watching this live later or new to the page, can you give us a little intro of who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So I go by Life by MJ on the internet, but my real name is Mallory, but you can call me either or. Essentially, I've been blogging for close to 10 years, but really I didn't get traction until the past almost 3 years. I'm coming up on my Life by MJ anniversary here in October. And honestly, everything changed for me when I started looking at blogging and influencing as a business and being really strategic about building relationships, a community, and connections. A big part of that was figuring out how to work with brands, which is where I got most of my early success in making money by working with brands. The first year before I hit even 10,000 followers, I made $10,000 working with brands and negotiating with them on my own. And
wow.
Just learning the ways to navigate and build those relationships, but also understanding the value that I could provide as a content creator at the time, just purely a content creator. Fast forward, I've since launched an e-course, a group coaching membership, one-on-one coaching, just really helping other content creators and entrepreneurs launch products and other services and build their influence as well. And a really big part of that is learning how to pitch. And I've learned over time, pitching extends even beyond working with brands, I guess you could say, as an influencer, as an entrepreneur, a freelancer. It's definitely a great way to build relationships, to grow your business, to access other audiences, and then also just build partnerships to get additional income. So what I plan on doing in this workshop, which I'm so excited about, is really just giving like clear, specific ways on how I've gone about this as an influencer, but then also now as an entrepreneur, and how to actually implement some of the mindset, the value adds, and discussing money and compensation strategically.
Okay, everything that you said, I'm hell yeah, sign me up. In my language of things that I'm personally working on too. So that's why I'm just so grateful that you're teaching at the Workshop Downtown. You've been on my wish list to teach. So it's happening. So thank you again. Just to kind of break down some pieces that you spoke on. As far as working as a content creator, I think that that's still somewhat of a new career path and kind of sounds a little mythical at times when people say, oh, I'm a content creator. And I've even struggled with this as someone who does create content. I'm like, am I a content creator? I don't know. I've always worked in social media. How do you describe what a content creator is? And like, how do you know if you are a content creator?
Well, you know, I agree with you. It is like this mythical unicorn. And honestly, this industry is the wild, wild west still. Like, we're all still figuring it out. But for the most part, in my opinion, a content creator could be an influencer or an entrepreneur. If you're creating content in a digital space for marketing purposes, whether to market your own personal brand, to market your brand that you own, say it's a whole different entity, you are a content creator, in my opinion. A lot of influencers, I don't think, recognize that they themselves are entrepreneurs. You know, they have a personal brand that they're leveraging a relationship with another brand to help each other in a reciprocal way, you know? And I personally help with my one-on-one coaching clients, help overcome that mindset. Like, no, you're a business. Like, you are the face of your brand, and you're creating content to help this other brand that's also going to help you. It's really, being an influencer, content creator, entrepreneur, to me is all one and the same. They're all entrepreneurs, and you're just creating and making connections in a digital space.
Thank you for that. If you can make that a meme and we repost it, because and just being an entrepreneur could feel like this, well, I don't know if I'm or not. And again, I'm personally going through it because I'm relaunching, if you will, my personal going freelance full time now, and kind of in between, like making that shift. And I think that so many people could resonate with that. Am I an entrepreneur? I'm a maker or an artist, or I just love creating content, or a lot of people who I think right now are impassioned of like speaking up and voice be heard. And that's part of, you know, being an influencer, if you will. So I think you are really arming people with the tools to take it seriously and to really treat it as a business, because you can continue doing what you love, and you can speak up about what's important, and you can make impact, and you can make money, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that those are really things that people are looking for right now, and also diversifying your revenue stream. Like, you need about like 5 things that you do for, you know, building your business, which is really important. I think right now more than ever, just the state of the world of like just the shutdown alone, we're all like, we don't have those normal kind of ways that we were building our businesses anymore, because there's literally $1 billion industry of influencer marketing that you could be tapping into, and you're going to show people how to jump in. Another thing that you said that was really important was you started pitching your brand and doing influencer marketing when you had less than 10K followers. I know why you picked out 10K, because 10K is like the number, and it's like when you get a swipe up, and it tends to be like, that's like the turning point when like you as an influencer kind of seems like around that 10K part. I think a lot of people who are in the workshop or would want to take the workshop are in that space of, they're like 10K. I imagine that right this moment, but what kind of advice or mindset would you say to like help people start thinking like, no, you could do it now, or, you know?
Absolutely.
What would you say to that?
I know it sounds very generic, but quality truly is far greater than quantity. You can have, in terms of your followers, 1,000 true followers that are actually customers.
Yes.
Big difference, you know. So many of us are chasing the likes, chasing the comments, all of that engagement, when really what's going to yield a difference in our lives is a conversion, which is purchasing a shirt, or purchasing earrings you've created, or purchasing a service that you can provide. That yields a far greater change than double tapping and liking something, or even just simply leaving a comment. Granted, that builds a community and a tribe. You can have success converting these individuals at just 1,000 people, 100 people. Let's say 100 people. and have a change in your income than someone who has hundreds of thousands of followers. And I know, going back to the pitching aspect, I personally know other influencers in this space who have 100K, and they're like, how are you making the money that you're making? I only get free product. And I'm like, what? It blows my mind, because I'm like, wait a second, like, and that all goes back to, you do understand you're a business, and these brands are leveraging your audience and shifting their mindset as, I can provide value and I'm providing them access. But it doesn't necessarily have to be about that number. You could be providing value in so many other ways beyond just your follower count. I have yielded far more success working with partners, with podcasts, with lead magnet swaps and things like that, with lower followers that are more niche, that are very specific and really aligned with who my ideal clients are, than I have with just partnering with others that have like hundreds of thousands random people. It depends on what you're trying to convert. What's the real intention? Are you chasing a like, or are you chasing a customer? You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I could say too, from like working in social media and doing influencer marketing more from a business point of view when repping a brand, I got more results working with influencers who are more niche with low amounts of followers than these big accounts that you're like, oh my God, we're going to explode because this person posted about us, but it didn't have the same traction. I like more local micro influencer marketing of just people who really speak to their community versus people who just have, you know, trillions of followers, you know, using something extreme. But so I love how you're really connecting the dots to show people, even if you have a small audience right now, you could still make this a business, and it is a business. And doing it, I think you're a beautiful example of how to do it authentically, because, you know, we all follow those people online and it feels so kind of like put on, you know, everything feels perfectly curated and it just feels too glossy. And I love how your page, you speaking up, done a lot of content on Black Lives Matter, really, and it feels like genuine from your heart. It also feels really real with like your family life, you balancing working and also building your business. Like all of that stuff really resonates with humanity, other people's hearts. So I think you're a beautiful example, and why we're so excited to learn from you is that you make it authentic. It's not like this cheesy, you know, like,
I hear you.
or, you know, like human, just real and authentic.
Well, I really appreciate that. And I strive for that. And it's so easy to compare yourself. You know what I mean? I even suffer from imposter syndrome, because this platform, specifically with Instagram, is filled with so much curated content, beautiful imagery, granted. But we all have to keep in mind, we're just seeing a small segment, a highlight of someone's day or moment in time. I know for me, since the conception of Life by MJ, it's always been important for me to just try to keep it as real and authentic as possible. And I've ebbed and flow in figuring out what that is over time. But I do feel like I am at a point currently with my brand where it's like, I feel this is me 100%, you know, talking about Black Lives Matter and the difficulty of balancing it all. Like, this is hard, you know, in the midst of a pandemic. I do that to certainly build connections and a community. Do understand I do it to a certain limit. I do still curate. Like, I certainly won't discount that, but there's power in doing that. You know, I allow as much as I want to give through this lens that I provide into my life.
Yeah.
And it's important to know you have control, but you can still build those genuine connections while still having that control in curating.
Yes, that's a great point. And I think that's where a lot of people get freaked out about building a brand, because they're like, well, I have to now tell all. I'm like, don't. You don't have the power to share what you share or not share. Like,
right.
It's okay. We all have different thresholds. I think people are like, well, if I'm not exposing every aspect of my life 24/7, then I can't build a brand. I'm like, absolutely not true. I think that's a great point that you just made of, you are setting the parameters of the lens, but within that lens and those parameters, you're really putting it all out there, if you will.
Absolutely. No, for sure. I just think that people, sometimes we forget the connection and the power that we could have by creating content and content creators. I mean, sometimes we do get very caught up on the conversion, but selling occurs, I guess you could say, between the time that you're actually selling and launching, and building those relationships and showing that value, building those connections. It's a bit difficult to balance for sure, but once you figure out a strategy, like this is what I represent, this is what I want to show on my platform, it truly makes a difference. It provides you a great ability to grow. It goes back to the whole niching thing that we started out initially on. Niching is incredibly powerful. It could be scary, but I was going to mention, and I can't take credit for this, if you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one.
That's like rule number one. That's the golden rule of marketing. Absolutely.
There's so much power in social media, and it's just really about being strategic. So you're building those connections and finding ways to monetize all this content you're creating.
Right. Absolutely. And I think, again, you are empowering people to look at what they're already creating.
Mm-hmm.
How do you just refine it, or how do you
repurpose it?
To really put it out there, or like pump it up, or just already are doing. Again, it's not reinventing the wheel. It's refining what you already are doing, or what you're called to speak on, or what you want to talk about, that you're empowering people with the tools now to take it professionally and really know how to pitch to a brand and feel confident.
Absolutely.
How did you feel the confidence to do this? I know that you are a social media strategist as well, but like, what was your path to being like, you know what, I am going to do this, and I'm going to brands, and like, I would love to know.
Honestly, because I dabbled in blogging for close to 10 years, I got so tired of seeing others who started around the time that I started, and surpassing, just putting themselves out there, being consistent, building those connections in those communities. And I'm like, I'm going about this all wrong. And honestly, I was dabbling, I was dipping my toe, I was all over the place. And so the comparison syndrome snuck up on me, and I just got tired and said, I need to really look at this differently. Like, this isn't just some silly thing to show up on. This is a business. I started making investments in myself, from buying equipment, camera and lighting and all that good stuff. I started networking, when we can actually be around people. But even with that said, I even started building relationships online, connecting with people via DMs and comments and Facebook groups. That made such a huge difference for me. And then at some point, I'm like, you know what? I got to shoot my shot. Like, again, watching other people having these partnerships with other brands, because at the time I was really hell-bent on, like, I want to work with brands and be an influencer. My mindset was very narrow at the time. I just said, forget it. I'm just going to try. I shared this in the workshop, but I did my research on how to find the proper contacts for certain brands and start building those relationships and having that communication on, hey, I want to work with you, and I actually could provide good content and value for you. That's the gist of it, I guess you could say.
I love it. I'm just going to save this and also replay that part when I need a kick in the ass to be like,
yeah,
you got this. Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I appreciate you sharing that, because it's those switches in our mindset that really makes all the difference of you. You know what? I could do this. I see other people doing it. And sometimes it is kind of like that fire when you see other people doing it. And you're like, well, hello, like, I could be doing this too.
But one thing I would certainly say is I was totally overthinking it. And I hope I shed that light in the workshop, is that it is really easy to start having these conversations. And I've noticed working with my clients that they're like, really, this was it? This is what you do? And I'm like, yeah, this is really it. To start having these conversations. Like, brands are people too. I mean, that's a whole other thing, but there are people behind these brands. Like, they have personalities, they're human. Start having these conversations and just kind of demystifying the mindset of, like, you can't communicate and negotiate with other companies. But then on top of that, with other influencers and others who may be in the same industry as you, because there's a lot to leverage right there. And that, I started exploring that last year, and even more so this year. And that's opened up a whole other set of floodgates and income as well, which I'll be talking about in the workshop.
Amazing. I really cannot wait. So how can people work with you now? I know you're teaching in the workshop Monday night, but I know you touched upon it a little bit, but if you could give a little bit more, like what you're working on and someone watching this and like, I need to work with Mallory? What do you got going on? How does that work?
Absolutely. I love to share. So I do have a one-on-one coaching business at this time, and I am currently accepting clients. And what I typically do is I help establish influencers and entrepreneurs who have been hitting those roadblocks over time, really leverage their content creation, helping them get consistent, and then providing a direction with their brand to start monetizing and make money. I know that sounds like a lot, but I do all of that by creating a customized roadmap for them. And I literally break down per month, per task, what you need to be doing to achieve your specific long-term goals. Because everyone's different. Everyone's trying to go after something. But over time, I figured out a methodology on how to strategically get this done, keep you accountable, and actually get some results so you could start making some money, building those connections, and build your business.
Absolutely. And it's cool. Once you kind of get like that first yes, money in a new way, you're like, okay.
Like I'm doing something right.
Yeah. Cool. So you do the one-on-one coaching. We have the workshop Monday night. Anything else that people can support your work?
I also host my podcast, which will be relaunching here soon,
Ooh.
A Life by You. And on there, I provide free social media tips and also interview other entrepreneurs and social media content creators in terms of how they build their current businesses and brands as well. I talk anywhere from natural curly hair women to fitness gurus to, oh gosh. I mean, I have a great friend, Tyler of Thrift and Tangles, niching and thrifting. I know you know Tyler as well, but really just discussing their journeys to getting to where they are. And then also just talking about the different trends and tips and tricks to grow on social media.
That sounds like the perfect conversation to put in our ears while we're plugging away, working on our stuff.
There's a ton of episodes, 22 episodes you can listen to right now.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Well, everyone follow Life by MJ, right?
Yep.
Cool. Sign up. You have an email list?
I do have an email list. I actually have a great freebie if anyone's struggling with their caption game or hashtags. Sign up for my captions that convert. It's in my, if you go to the link in my bio, you can actually, it's the first thing that pops up there. I'll get that over to you. And I've actually have had quite a few people say like, this has made a huge difference. So it's free.
Downloading that as soon as you get off of here and really empowering you with a new way of making money doing what you love. Bottom line, do what you love, make an impact, and do it right. So you're not just running in circles, kind of trying to figure it out. Like learn from someone who has the skills, who has the proven method, who's already done it. Give yourself a little bit more ease and grace as you work on a new way of building your business. That's it.
That's it in a nutshell. I can't wait.
Okay. Well, thank you again. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. All right, so I'm hoping this episode provided you some nuggets of inspiration and even more importantly, information on pitching. Still, there's so much more I could share on the power of pitching if you'd like to know, especially if you're an influencer, blogger, freelancer, entrepreneur who needs help figuring out how to pitch. I'd love to help you out with my one-on-one coaching services. Outside of my 3 to 6 month one-on-one coaching programs, I'm now offering single coaching sessions. So from 30-minute coffee chats to power hour strategy sessions, you could receive actionable help on your pitching, branding, or even random social media questions to pick my brain on. Just visit the link in the show notes to book, and I'll be happy to help you soon. Otherwise, I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and that's it for now. I'll see you next week.